The interception of data is pretty concerning because there's a lot of different ways this can happen. Number one, we have direct observation, so somebody sees exactly the data or the information. This could be conducted through shoulder surfing, where you're looking over the shoulder of somebody as they're typing on their screen. So it could be gathering username and passwords or other information. It could be looking over their shoulder, just other documents. So these are concerns, especially as you look at computers and paperwork and documents that are then outside the office. So somebody was able to take a computer home or take some documents home, and they stop by the coffee shop to do some work or something like that, then that can be a consideration. Also, too, from a physical security standpoint, having windows in offices and people using binoculars, telescopes, those kind of things to look through the windows and be able to see on people's computer screens from outside. The interception of data is another one, and this could be either in a wired or wireless format. So with wired, you can have lines that are tapped, just like you tap a phone line to be able to hear what's going on, as far as the conversation over those lines. Same thing can happen for computer lines. It's a little bit more difficult, but it can happen. And then wireless, because those signals are going out in all directions all the time from your laptop and other devices, then that could potentially be intercepted as well. The third type is electromagnetic interception. Now, this is a much more complicated and sophisticated method, but basically you have computers and other electronic devices that emit signals from especially things like computer monitors, and those electromagnetic signals can be intercepted, and then those signals can be reconstructed to then produce whatever the original signal was. So again, you can have electromagnetic radiation coming from a monitor or some other device, and people be able to understand what that is by intercepting that data with some type of device. So we had this Tempest program that the government developed to reduce the risk of EMR monitoring. So what we can do is to shield our devices. The most sophisticated devices use advanced microcomponents that have been designed from the very beginning to minimize Tempest emanations. So these monitors and other devices are built with some protection around them to be able to eliminate that or at least minimize it. Usually what this does is involve encompassing the device with some kind of Faraday cage, which just basically doesn't allow those stray emanations to leave that particular wall or wrap around that device. Usually it is going to involve heavy metal casing around the object or even around a room. So we have some computer rooms especially or equipment rooms that have the same type of protection around them. Now this is expensive, so you're not going to use it in all situations, but for high-end applications, high security risk situations, then this would be a consideration. And then securing mobile and portable systems is becoming more important today as more and more devices that are mobile and portable become connected online. We have phones, tablets, laptops, on top of other devices that are going to provide mobile computing capabilities. So we need to make sure that our mobile computing systems are protected because they have corporate information stored on them. Usually when we connect them to the network, we're going to use those devices, especially the phones and tablets, to connect to email. And so now we have corporate email on those, and because we do send so many documents through email, even to ourselves sometimes, so that we'll have them available to us wherever we are, then that's a big security concern. And these mobile computing systems need to be configured to facilitate the user's access into the organization's secure computing facilities, so they can get access to other programs or information. So even if they don't have the information or data stored on them, they do act as a conduit into a system which somebody could then use to pull data from our network. So we have some different controls that are in place that can support a high security and also the retrieval of lost or stolen laptops and other devices. One such tool is CompuTrace software, and this is software that's stored on a laptop, and it periodically reports to a central monitoring system where the device is. So that if you report your device stolen, then it can look for the location of that device based on it reporting to that central monitoring site every so often. And this is hardware, or this is software rather, that's difficult to get removed from a computer. So even if somebody does steal it, and even if they do reformat the drive, if it's set up properly, then that's going to be on a separate partition or a different part of the drive that wouldn't be overwritten or deleted, so it would always be there reporting its location. And we can also have burglar alarms for desktop computers, and these are basically made up of a card that connects into the computer that contains a motion detector. And so because your desktop computer generally doesn't move, then if it is picked up and moved, then this motion detector would sound the alarm and either make a loud noise or report to someone on the network that it's been moved. So there are a couple of different ways we can secure mobile and portable systems. And then also, another thing that's not included on the slides is to be able to have cables and locks that can connect to your laptop and lock them down. So when they're in your office or you're in the meeting room, you can use that cable and that lock to secure your computer to the desk or something else inside that room. Now, remote computing security is another issue too, as we spend so much time on the road and working from home. We offer these services to our employees quite a bit. So we've got to make sure that when a device is outside of the organization's main facility, that they can securely connect in. So again, we have telecommuting, and this would be an option for people that are off-site using the internet. Maybe dial-up, or maybe a leased point-to-point link, which would have which to be used in a remote work facility. So let's say your corporate headquarters is in downtown Houston, but not everybody wants to drive into downtown Houston all the time. You may have some small offices on the outskirts of town that people can drive to and then work from there, and they would be linked to the main headquarters, so they're telecommuting from that. So again, those are some examples of when people would be telecommuting. And then obviously when they're traveling and in other situations, these are things. So there is encryption software and other type of things that we can use, but we just got to make sure we take extra precautions for those remote computing devices. Now, other special considerations for physical security threats include, number one, developing physical security in-house or outsource. Which way do we go on that? There are a lot of qualified and professional agencies that can provide this type of service, and we get the benefit through outsourcing this type of service of gaining experience and knowledge of those companies, because that is our core competency. That is what they do for business, so they should be much better at it than we are. On the downside, though, it is a lot more expensive. There is a loss of control because someone else is performing that service for us. And then thirdly, there is a level of trust that has to be in place in that other company, because that's not, our employees. So that can be a big hurdle to get over sometimes as well. A second consideration is social engineering. And this is the use of people skills to obtain information from employees that shouldn't be released. And so social engineering techniques can be used for people to gain physical access into a building. And as we've talked about different examples of social engineering in the past, you can apply that again here. But the main thing is, as we look at physical security, we've got to make sure that our employees are aware of social engineering techniques so that they can keep an eye out for those kind of things. Inventory management is also a good consideration for physical security, and all computing equipment needs to be inventoried and then inspected on a regular basis to make sure that it is in the location where it's supposed to be. It's still there. It hasn't been stolen. And so in order to make sure we have an awareness of things being stolen, we, again, have to have an inventory of it to know what it is and where it is. So then, in summary, what we've talked about through this chapter is, threats to information security, they're unique to physical security, because most of the other mechanisms are through electronic means, but here we're relying more on people than other type of things. There are key physical security considerations in a facility site, like where to build it, how to construct the building, and how to secure it physically. We looked at different physical security monitoring components, the essential elements of access control to our physical facilities. We looked at some stuff related to fire, also the importance of supporting utilities, which in many cases are overlooked, and then different countermeasures to physical theft of our computing devices. So hopefully throughout this chapter you've gained an appreciation for the difficulty it is to physically secure our devices and our locations.